All right. Hello and welcome again to a new episode of the KewCast. I'm John. I'm joined again by my good buddy,
Hey,
Eddie.
John.
How are things?
Really looking forward to today's episode.
Me too.
It's jam-packed full of fun stuff.
Oh, so jam-packed. This might be our last episode of 2024. We're not sure yet. We might be able to record next week.
Yeah, maybe.
Week
A little
before
on the
Christmas.
late side.
Yeah, maybe after Christmas.
Yeah.
But anywho, we'll see. But if this is our last episode of the year, then Merry Christmas, everybody.
Well, definitely Merry Christmas, but let's try and do one more.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
A New
You're
Year's
on,
Eve drunken episode.
For sure. We got a jam-packed show today. So we're going to talk about some latest news, gear gossip. I just wanted to clarify some of the things I was talking about last week about the gear,
Sure.
The Gearbox, the
Rhombus.
Rhombus
Yep.
Ripple. The holiday giveaway. This is our last week of the giveaway. We've got some winners, 6 winners from last week.
So fun.
Guess how many items we're giving away this week?
I'm going to go with 12.
18 it is. More than double our original goal, which was the 12 days of Christmas.
We need to do
good
one
stuff.
more show then.
Yeah, I think
Just to
so.
talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then we are going to get into kind of our awards ceremony. So last year I made this big video at the end of the year for best paddle of the year, best budget. We're
right.
going to do this on the pod this year.
Okay.
Because, I think that, first of all, that video took forever to make, and I don't have time at the end of this year to do it. And also, I think that Chris Olson does a fantastic job for his paddle awards, and he does that outside of his podcast, so I thought it would wrap it into
I'm very
the
curious to
KewCast.
see how we compare.
Yes,
Because we did
indeed.
this exercise separately.
Yeah, we did. You and I did it separately, and we're not. I don't know what Chris is choosing. I did see Braden's Pickleball Effect podcast a couple weeks ago where they did their paddle superlatives, but that did not influence my choices. And then we have some Q&A after that.
All right.
So, good times. My voice is going to be a little froggy today. I've got a bit of a head cold. Stuff's going around this time of year everywhere.
Keep that to
Colorado
yourself,
included.
John.
But let's talk about our sponsor this week. Sponsor again is pickleballbluebook.com. And basically it's a website you go to and appraise your used paddle if you'd like to sell it on Facebook Marketplace.
Yep, Facebook.
Yeah. And Craigslist, whatever. And is Craigslist even around anymore? I feel like I'm outdated just saying that.
Oh, yeah. It's
Okay.
around.
Okay. But yeah, if you want to sell your paddle person to person and want to get an estimate on it, given its condition and what kind of paddle it is, the company and the model, then go into pickleballbluebook.com and you'll be able to get an estimate and a range of that, similar to Kelly Blue Book for cars, right?
Right on.
So it's just a service provided, and it's powered by Get to 11. Well, more about Get to 11 and the giveaway. So
All right.
good stuff coming from the whole pickleball space.
Speaking of sponsors, I see you are wearing Centerline from head to toe, as am I.
I am. We just got a new package. Mine came in 2 days ago. How about
Holy
yours?
cow. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I may have slept in my Centerline clothes last night. It's so comfortable.
They are so comfortable. Yeah.
These are great.
Yeah.
Happy to get the package. And man, when I open that thing up, these things are just so soft. I mean, there's some big name companies out there like Vawari and others who make really good, like just all day wear.
Uh-huh.
This is right up there with that.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I'm glad you didn't pick the black sweatshirt and hoodie and vice versa.
But literally, I am head to toe in Centerline today.
Me too. I wasn't going to do a ad read for Centerline, so this is not a technical ad read, but yeah, they typically sponsor the show. Didn't have anything in the works this week, but just a shout out to Centerline.
Yeah,
and the code is always active, so John Q gets you 20% off of
right.
Centerline clothing. Excellent. So let's move on to latest news and gear gossip. So last week when we were talking about the Ripple, I didn't speak as clearly as I would like to have about the USAP approval of it. A couple of times I was mentioning that I'm not sure if it's going to be USAP approved. That to some people sounded like I was talking about the actual Ripple. The Ripple, to clarify, the Ripple 14 millimeter, both shapes, are in fact USAP approved. What I was trying to communicate poorly last week was that there have been some alterations made of the core, particularly to get the edge guard fix going, and I see a little bit of differences in the X-rays, and Dong, the owner of Rhombus, is going back and forth with USAP to see if that is a substantial enough change to require a similarity test. So if there's a similarity test, then it's up for debate whether or not, that change will be approved, right? So that's what I was referring to. I didn't make it as clear yesterday, but suffice it to say that if you see, it's not up to us, at tournaments to be like, wait, what version of the Rhombus Ripple is that? Is that the beta or the production model? No, they are, for our intents and purposes, they're all USAP approved until Rhombus and USAP tell us otherwise, right? So,
all right, thanks for that update.
Yeah.
Holiday giveaway.
That's next.
Come on.
Let's talk about the main segment of the show today, our last week of the giveaway. So let's first talk about week 2 giveaway. So we've had 3 weeks of the Christmas giveaway, holiday giveaway. And we gave away 4 paddles on the first week, 6 paddles last week, and we're giving away 18, mostly paddles, 18 gifts this week. So going back to last week, we've got 6 winners. So the winner of the Engage Pursuit Pro 1 6.0 is Quincy Vu. Now, by the way, I will contact each of the winners by email. I haven't sent out that email yet, but this also applies to this week. Don't send out any personal information to people soliciting that information on the comments of YouTube. We had an issue on the first week of somebody pretending to be me, and it was like John Kew, and I had something at the end of it. And they were like, "You're a winner, and you can send us your contact information." Don't do that. The email will come from me, and I won't reply to your I won't reply in the comment section of the YouTube video.
Got it.
To the winners, but it will come from johnqpickleball.com. Okay. So congratulations, Quincy Vu, for the Engage. The Yola. Any choice of a Yola paddle in their inventory went to Joseph Papillo. Congratulations,
So
Joseph.
this is with the balls, the slice cap, the overgrips, the whole deal.
All these,
man,
all these add-ons.
So good. Can't wait for my name. Go ahead, say it, John. Say it.
Pickleball Central last week gave away any paddle in their inventory. Peyton Mazera is the winner of that. Congratulations, Peyton. Rhombus Ripple, making ripples in the pickleball news. That went to John Chen.
Okay.
John Chen, congratulations. 6-0 Ruby Infinity. We've got that on the wall behind you. It's a beautiful paddle. Alvin Lynn is the winner of that. And finally, the Franklin Tour paddle of your choice, together with the 12-pack of X40s and a sling bag from Franklin, went to Jared West.
Okay.
So 6 winners from last week. Congratulations to all of them.
That is so cool, John.
Yeah. Let's move on to today's
Well, before we leave last week's giveaway, we asked people for their feedback and input on what ball they were using, their favorite ball, right? And per trend here, as of the first holiday giveaway, we had about 1,000 comments on this. So really interesting way to get feedback from our listeners, see how the community is feeling about different things. So I tabulated all the ball results.
Eddie's analysis. Let's hear it.
The Franklin X40 was far and away the number 1 ball. In fact, if you added up all the other balls, Franklin is about double all the others combined. So that is a huge slice of the pie. In fact, I have a pie chart for this. So if you're interested in seeing that slice,
do you? You have a pie chart? Okay.
It'll be up in the video.
Okay, perfect.
Franklin.
About what percentage was Franklin?
63%.
That's a big chunk of the pie.
It is. People love the ball. Some general comments. They feel like the ball is really a fair ball. Like there's nothing crazy about it. It's just fair. It's. I think when they say fair, it's fair between skill levels, right? So 5-0s aren't going to be able to exploit this particular ball in a different way than a 3-5 would.
Exactly.
It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can go to Target or Walmart and probably pick up, a 3-pack if you need it.
Yeah.
They're just everywhere. They're not expensive. And then finally, like they just kind of hold up until they break. There's not just this sort of degradation of performance. It just hangs in there until the end, and then it's over. Yeah.
It doesn't go out of round as easily as other balls. It has more of a pure bounce. It's a little softer ball, but that's a good thing, especially in colder climates, right? And like the users said, or the viewers said, it is kind of puts things on a more even playing field.
It does.
For everybody.
It does. Everyone compares balls to either the Franklin or the Dura. The Dura did not even show up.
Really?
I mean, it did, like at less than 1%.
Okay, interesting.
But guess what the number one ball was? And if you get it right, John, I have a prize for you.
Number one ball
Speaking
outside of the
outside,
Franklin
right.
X40.
Yeah.
Favorite, right? Or the
Most
one they're
often,
currently using.
Yeah, favorite right now.
I'm going to go with the, I'm going to go with the Selkirk.
You are a winner, John.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Selkirk's number 2 at 17%.
Wow.
And there were a lot of references to like cold weather performance.
Yep.
And so going into winter here, Selkirk was number 2, followed by the Lifetime ball,
Okay.
followed by the Vulcan, and then the Core.
Interesting.
And then all others combined were just about 10%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Selkirk ball, outside of the fact that it never breaks, because it does go out around. It's not the best color, but man, that thing is super durable. I think our podcast on the frozen ball test resonated with some people because it certainly, you don't want to break 10 balls when you're out for 2 hours playing a game.
yeah, so since you got that right, John.
No way. All right, we've got to do another podcast before the end of the year so I can give you your present. All right, do I open this?
Yeah,
Is it for me?
Yeah,
Okay,
open it now.
fantastic. Eddie, you shouldn't have.
You deserve it. You've been working hard this year. You've been a good boy.
All right, let's see here.
Never mind that white powder that's flying out of there.
Anthrax. Oh. Hilarious. All right, so the winners are everybody who entered our first week of the giveaway had to guess what was a pizza restaurant I worked at in college, which was Hideaway Pizza. And Eddie found a Hideaway Pizza hat and T-shirt. I love it. You know what? They haven't changed as far as I
was
know.
going to say, there's some of those fonts and logos like straight out of the 80s.
Oh, yeah, 70s maybe. This is fantastic. Thank you, good sir.
You betcha. You're ready to go back to work.
I love this. This will be my next hat on the podcast.
I think you need to wear that at your next tournament.
How in the world did you find that? I'm sure you can find them online somewhere.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. Okay.
No, I had to buy it used off of a current employee. Just kidding.
I'll be sure to wash them first.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, good sir.
You want to talk about the current sweepstakes?
Let's move into our final week of the sweepstakes. Okay. A couple of people I had to pass up because they got the wrong answer on your shoes. I felt bad for them. But yeah, so everybody who entered, thank you very much. Let's move on to week 3 giveaway. 18 winners today. And like I said, I'll contact the winners directly by email. Don't reply to any solicitation in the comment section of YouTube. And the first giveaway today, by the way, stick around to the end of these because I'm going to drop a bomb at the end here. So first prize, Paddle Tech is joining our sweepstakes.
Any Paddle Tech.
Any Bantam paddle.
All right.
Yes.
That'll do.
Also, this week, Pickleball Central has agreed to also send gift cards to every one of today's 18
Just
winners.
keeps getting better.
Yeah,
and better.
right. Now, the slice caps and the crown balls and the Bodie overgrips stop after the first 2 winners today because they agreed to 12 of those each, right? But we got Pickleball Central gift cards for everybody. All right. Selkirk also joined the sweepstakes. So your choice of a Vanguard Pro, a Lux Control, or a Vanguard Control. So these are the biggest 3 paddles right now. They're most popular paddles that they're selling. And you also get a 12-pack of their Pro S1 balls. They threw that in as well. All right, third prize, Proton. Any Proton paddle of your choice.
Nice.
Fourth, Pickleball Central. Not only are they giving gift cards away, but to 2 winners this week, another paddle, any choice of their inventory. Right?
I can't wait to hear what the bomb is because I feel like this is just one bomb after another.
It just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
Bread and Butter. So they're giving away their Invader, their newest addition to their lineup, plus the kitchen court caddy that they collaborated with and has the Bread and Butter logos
I have
on
not
the
seen
interior.
that.
It is sick.
Okay.
So you get the Invader paddle plus the the best backpack on the
Holy
market.
cow. All right.
Vatic is giving away a Saga, your
Nice.
choice of the shape and the handle size. Spartus is giving away an Olympus paddle. Chorus is giving away their shapeshifter, which just released on Friday.
Just the best of the best stuff.
Neonic giving away their Flare Prime 14 millimeter, so their hottest paddle in their lineup. Body Helix. So Eddie, do you remember when Fred from Body Helix sent us bags just stuffed with goodies, paddles and everything? He's doing that for one of our today's winners. So he's giving away their choice of any Body Helix paddle, plus their backpack and a bunch of goodies inside of it. So listen to the backpack stuffed with
All right, Fred.
all kinds of, Engage is giving away another paddle this week, the Pursuit version 2.0. So Engage is giving away the Pursuit version 2.0. Crown is giving away, so Crown, the ball maker, also makes paddles, giving away their Carbon Blade 16 paddle, just like a thermoformed, elongated paddle.
I'd like to see that someday.
Yeah. Get to 11 is giving away. So Get to 11 is affiliated with pickleballbluebook.com, and they don't buy your paddles from Pickleball Blue Book, but if you do want to trade in your paddle, you get 20% off at Get to 11. So they've got a bunch of just used paddles, right? And they range in condition from poor to, almost new. But they've been donating those paddles to various charities that reached out to them. So Get to 11 is giving away used paddles for charities of the winner's choice, and he's going to give that to 2 winners. So it'll be between 10 and 20 paddles to each winner. So if you have a charity you want, or you are, affiliated with a kids group,
I like that.
A rec center, that you just need a bunch of paddles, then reach out and try to win the sweepstakes. I might put that on its own in its form so that it's not, it doesn't have the 999 other participants competing for that. I'm sure that this is more of a niche thing, but I think it's a really good cause. So
I like that one a lot.
There we go. Melon, hello. Melon's giving away a hat on our sweepstakes. Not only any hat, but this particular hat that I'm wearing, not the one on my head, but I had him put one aside. So this one sold out, right after they released it. It's their latest addition to their lineup. It's called the Midnight Reflective Odyssey Rope style, right?
Okay.
So that one's put aside. That'll go to one of our winners. ADV, the backpack manufacturer, is giving away your choice of either the Pickleball Pro Bag or the Pickleball Backpack, right? So the big Pro Bag or the backpack. You love both of these, right? Also, a medium cube and a pack of grips and wristbands from ADV. Kitchen, the bag manufacturer, is also giving away a Court Caddy bag. So there's 2 kitchen bags in the sweepstakes, one with the bread and butter paddle and the other one on its own. All right, drum roll, please. So we got a big announcement to make. Carbon is giving away in the sweepstakes one of the True Foam Genesis paddles, right? This is the one that everybody's been anticipating for almost a year now, right? So that's the new core that they're making, and they're set to release that. I didn't get an exact release date. I'll look at my email. I emailed them to see if they had one. But it comes in 3 shapes. So the same shapes as we all know from Carbon. So the Carbon 1, which is their elongated shape. The Carbon 2, which is more of their standard shape. This is the one I'm enjoying playing with right now. And then the Carbon 3, which is like their elongated, shorter handle version, right? So, exciting times.
So winner's choice of any of those 3.
Winner's choice. And that'll be the first paddle available, to the marketplace for anybody for one of these paddles.
That lineup is nuts, John.
It is.
Okay, so how do people win?
All right. Eddie, why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah, so what we're asking, just as we did the last couple of weeks, we're going to ask you to leave a comment for us in the YouTube comments section, and then go to John's website, johnqpickleball.com, to answer a trivia question, and then put in your choice prize. We'll do our best to accommodate those requests if you win, but really, I think any of those prizes is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's start with the YouTube comments. We would like to know from you. Well, last week we asked you, what did we ask last week? my shoe preference. The week before, we asked where you worked. This week's going to be a little bit more pickleball focused. So we analyzed your comments about what paddles you are currently maining in week one of this contest. The Honolulu J2K was the winner. Not the winner, but the most often cited. What was the second most frequently mentioned paddle?
I like it.
From our viewers during week one.
So
check out that video from 2 weeks ago and let us know in the not in the comments, but in on your website,
right,
which of those was second most frequently cited.
Yeah. So again, don't spoil it for everybody by putting the answer in the comments.
No,
that will be provided in the form on my website that you enter to win.
But in the comments, we'd like to hear from feedback from you as far as what you like best about this show that you would like to see us continue in 2025, or what's missing from this show that you would like to see us add in 2025.
Perfect.
You like that?
Yeah, that's really great.
So it's a two-step process. Let us know your thoughts on the show in the comments, and let us know the number 2 cited paddle on John's website.
I dig it. Just worked out so great. I just can't believe how many companies jumped in to join the sweepstakes, and thank you to all of them. There was very generous.
All the companies, all the folks who have taken time out of their day to listen to the podcast and leave us a comment. The community engagement has just been overwhelming. 1,000 comments per episode out of 10,000 views is kind of nuts.
Right. That's a good point, because without the viewership and our engaged audience, none of the paddle companies would be interested.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say none, but regardless, it takes a village, and
sure
our
does.
village is our viewers.
We've got the smartest people out there in pickleball.
For sure.
And hey, if you're a winner, send us a picture or something. We would love to see you with your prize.
I dig that. Yeah, send us pictures. We'll put it up whenever we get them in. Maybe first episode of 2025.
Yeah, love it.
All right,
what's next, John?
Let's move on. Another exciting topic. So we're going to do the best of 2024 this week. And you and I are going to hash this out. So I sent you the categories. You added some categories, took some out. And then we separately gave our answers, so we don't know what to expect from each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're going to come to consensus on winners and losers, or?
We'll see. All right. So first category, best performing breakout company. So
what's a breakout company, John?
Breakout company is somebody we didn't hear of in 2023, just came on the scene in 2024, and then just killed it.
All right.
2024. All right. So Eddie, why don't you go first?
All right. I've got some runners up.
Okay.
And I've got my choice pick of breakout company. And I'm not even sure if it is a breakout company for 2024, so we may need to re-swizzle this a little bit. So my runner up is Chorus. Is Chorus a breakout company?
Yeah, I mean, they started in 2023. Nobody had heard of them, though. So,
okay.
Yep.
All right. So Chorus is my runner-up. I have another runner-up, Spartus.
Okay. I like
that
it.
definitely was not around in 2023.
No.
And they came on the scene with the Apollo and just killed it with the Olympus.
Yep.
My best performing breakout company is 11624. Maybe they were on the scene a little bit in 23. Not sure.
I think they were. Most of these are going to be,
But they really hit some home runs this year in 2024.
For sure. That's my same main answer, 11624.
Okay.
I mean, you can't argue about their success.
You can argue about some things about the company.
The naming. Although now that it's just established, it is what it is.
Exactly.
And, it just sounds normal now. But I remember when when you and I first started talking about them, probably in February. It was early this year, and we just could not get the name straight. I was like, it's going to take me a month to memorize this thing, and it did. It did. I kept calling it 1160, and then we've been through all this, but they've just absolutely killed it. All of their offerings have been fantastic, and they're price conscious and good stuff. So
and
congratulations!
Our audience is all over it. They were swimming in the comments during week one of the contest.
For sure. My runner-up was Honolulu.
Okay.
Honolulu Pickleball Company. I remember earlier in the year they sent me most of their paddle lineup, and this was before the J2K, and you and I were kind of hitting around with some, didn't quite find the ones with the holes in them to be to our preference, but then we started hitting around with others, and we're like, oh, okay, this is... this company has potential, and then they killed it.
What was that
the rest of the
weird
year.
elongated paddle with the hole in it? Was that the J5?
A higher number, yeah, J5, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
That was not a good paddle. But the J2K and the Titanium and the Pro are all really
Good stuff.
top
and
tier
the
paddles.
J3s are good too. We've never really talked about those on the podcast much, but that's their standard shape.
All right.
It's another good paddle.
So we do have agreement.
Indeed. All right, next category, best performing legacy company.
Yeah, you wanna take
companies
us out on this
that
one?
have been around for a good while. Yeah, I'll give I don't have a runner-up. So my winner is Paddletech.
Okay.
They happen to be around just at the right time this year when everything fell through for Yola. Their Gen 3 paddles got delisted by USAP. Everybody who bought one of those and sent it back was looking for a power paddle to replace it with. And there was Paddletech with their newly revised Bantam series, which aren't quite as powerful as the Gen 3s, but are very powerful. And they don't break, which was a big issue with the Yola Gen 3s and the mods, right? So they just captured that market share and they smashed it this year with the Bantam.
John, we did not compare notes. I swear
Okay.
on my kids' lives that we did not compare notes. But that is also my best performing legacy company for all the same reasons.
Okay.
Those ESQ paddles in particular are just amazing, controllable power paddles.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good offering. I do have a runner-up, though,
Okay, what's your runner-up?
and that is Engage.
Okay.
I feel like their Pro Series of paddles is really up there
Okay.
with some of the best. If they could just fix their branding, get rid of that little bullseye target thing, I'd be a lot happier. But I think they're on the scene for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Their Pro Series paddles are great, and they share a lot of similarity with Paddletech.
Yep.
But I think they're spinning their wheels a little bit this year. I do. Let's do this, Eddie. So a little offshoot of this particular question.
Okay.
What's our prediction for next year for legacy companies that will make a comeback that are currently not perceived as being the greatest companies?
Oh, well, let's table that because I haven't thought about it yet.
Okay. All right.
We'll put that one at the end.
Okay. Remind me to come back to it because I will.
We'll do it right
forget.
before the best paddle of the year.
I'll give you a hint. I'll give you one right now, and then we'll come back and I'll give you the other. So I think Engage is going to be one of these companies that makes a bigger comeback next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're on the right path, and similar to Paddletech, they're following that similar path and American-made stuff. And I think they're going to have some just a guess, wild guess, but I think they're going to have some good ideas next year.
All right.
Okay. Next category: best budget paddle, price conscious paddles. Do you want to go first, Eddie?
I only have one choice for this, and that's the Jelly Bean.
Same.
Is it really?
I mean, it's such an obvious choice. I mean, it can't get any better for, is it $100 after code,
Yeah, I
$90
think
after
so.
code?
Yep.
Yeah, it's $100 after code than a Jelly Bean. I mean, last year, up to recently, it's been the Vatic Prism Flash all day, right? But the Jelly Bean, it provides a bit more offensive options than the Vatic Prism Flash, and it's just the sweet spot's bigger.
I was just going to say the exact same characteristics that draw me to it.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Do you have a runner?
I do
runner-up?
not. How about you?
I do have a runner-up.
Go for
so
it.
the ISO Ryu is how you pronounce it. So this guy behind me, $90 after code.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago on the podcast. It's titanium face. It's a kind of a Gen 3 core. It has foam in different places. It's got foam, thicker foam down here at 4 and 8 o'clock. So it plays differently. It doesn't play like you think it would. It's a stiff paddle, but it's got great sweet spot. It's 15 millimeters. It's a little non-traditional. And just overall, I'm just like, I love the graphics are great.
are nuts. I
The
love
graphics
that.
are great. It's a
Yeah.
solid performer. $90 all day.
That was a very surprising hit when we
Yeah.
played with it.
Yeah, for sure.
The first touch of the ball, it feels really stiff, but then, I don't know, something takes over and it just hits some magical shots with
Yeah.
that paddle.
Good spin, great control.
That's an excellent choice for runner-up.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a control-oriented paddle for sure. So you're not going to blow people off the court with it, but
Yeah.
not a bad thing. That's a good spot to be in.
You can do a lot with $100.
Yeah, these days with paddles for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
What's our next category?
Next category is most underrated paddle.
Okay.
Oh, I gotta get my prop for this one. I'll be right back.
Okay.
We have the exact opposite colors on top and bottom, but wearing the exact same clothes. It works, John.
All right, where are we at?
Okay,
Underrated.
So it's the most underrated paddle.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. That would be the Reload. I did not review this year, but it is a fantastic technology. The replaceable faces. So they're using raw carbon fiber sheets and easy to replace. Good prices. It's close to $200 for the first paddle and set of sheets, and then each. I think they're $20 for a pair of sheets after that, maybe 30. And they're doing it right. So I'm not sure why this didn't pick up and blow up in 2024, but it's definitely worth mentioning as one of the most innovative tech in 2024. And I think once they start getting new shapes, that these things are going to explode. I think this shape, it's the Hyperion shape, elongated. Some people love this. I think it's a little bit of an old-fashioned shape at this point. That might have been a deterrent for some people, but fantastic technology, and yeah, I think it's underrated.
I did not see that coming, John. Nah. For once we differ in our opinion. No, it's a fine paddle. My opinions vary, however. I have two runners up. One is the Body Helix X4, X5. I mean, they're pretty similar. Mm-hmm. But that gold Kevlar face is super grippy.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of fun out of that just from the spin aspect. It's got a nice sweet spot. I played with it in a couple tournaments, and if I'm going to play with something in a tournament, it's going to be fairly good paddle, right? But not a lot of people talk about Body Helix. So that's one. My second runner-up is the Mark 1X.
Okay.
Another paddle I took to a tournament. We did fairly well with that one. That's the one we got silver at in
that's right.
California.
I forgot about that.
But really a nice looking paddle, as well as a solid performer with a little bit of weight on the throat area.
I like where you're going with those, Eddie. Those are definitely underappreciated brands and paddles.
Yeah.
For sure.
But my number one choice in underrated, maybe it's not terribly underrated, but it's the Pickle Hurricane.
Okay. There we go.
I feel like not a lot of people are talking about it or using it for that matter, but it is a solid performer.
Absolutely. I mean definitely control oriented.
Yep.
But the 14 has some more defensive options, but excellent paddle. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got that behind the ruby back there. We're not doing it to pull it out, but it looks great too for a standard shape paddle. That's about the most aesthetically pleasing.
I do
shape.
Like this shape a lot.
Yeah. And it comes in various colors, different edge guard colors. So good stuff.
Pickl. This will come up later in some of my feedback.
I did, before I mentioned Reload, I forgot to mention that I had a runner-up, and that runner-up was the Thrive Azul. Now, I know it saw some popularity early in 2024, but it seems to have just completely gone off the radar.
Yeah, you're right.
And that was such a solid performing paddle. I think what happened was that it was released in that whole grouping of Kevlar paddles that was released in 2024, and shortly after it was released, the Honolulu J2K was released, and that just blew up and basically, took the stage from there on out. But I mean, you and I remember we did our paddle
battle
bracket. Yeah.
Bracket, yeah.
Yeah. So we did a paddle bracket, and we
did really well there.
It won.
Did it win?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember.
Right. The Thrive Azul.
Yeah, that's true.
First.
Yeah.
So solid performing paddle, and you don't hear much about it anymore.
Good point.
Okay. This was your category, Eddie. Best and worst looking paddles. Okay. So let's hear from you first.
All right. Where do you want to start? The worst or the best?
Ooh. Let's start with best.
Best. Okay. I got a couple of runners up here as well. The Mark 1X is showing up again as a runner up here and best looking. The distinctive paddle shape of that and the graphics are just on point. I really love that paddle. And just looking at that paddle. The Neonic Flare is right up
paddle.
there. Kind of like the Pickle, but it's got that classic wide body. Yep. I do like white and black.
Yeah, it's elegant.
But the winner in best looking 2024, right here.
Okay.
I've always liked the ruby, the color combination, but to put this in an edgeless, just kind of ticks all the boxes for me. This thing is amazing looking. Look at that, folks.
That's a pretty paddle.
That is.
I don't even see red, and I'm like, that's a beautiful paddle.
What color do you see for this?
I mean, it's kind of a brownish for me. But,
Okay.
But I see a bit of yellow in it. Regardless, the shape of it, the
proportions.
accents, the proportions.
Yeah.
It's like,
Not thrilled about this logo on the back, but everything else about it's really,
that's true.
really nice.
That side is the most aesthetically pleasing paddle of the year. I would have to agree. Although I didn't choose that.
Now, if this came in a 14, I'd spend my own money on it.
Would you? Okay.
That's
So
okay.
you played with it a bit yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's solid.
Enjoyed it? Yeah.
You'd have to convince me that it was an edgeless paddle because it doesn't play like one at all. They've done some weight work on this distribution-wise, and it feels so good.
I haven't talked to Dale about what they did with that, but you can feel it just when you swing it. It's not super lightweight like a edgeless paddle. But I hit with it also at Worlds, not that particular one, but another paddle. And I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, I like it.
And it feels more like a control paddle these days. Our goalposts are constantly
Yeah, that's
moving
true.
from power versus control, because when I reviewed that late last year, or early this year, it was late last year, it was like all court leaning power, I think is how I classified it. It is not that anymore.
No, it's on the other end of all court.
Yeah, all court
I would
leaning
say,
control.
yeah.
Yeah. But solid performing paddle.
It really is.
Yeah, and gorgeous.
A 14, please, Dale. Thank you.
All right, so
Your best looking?
my best looking is any bread and butter paddle. Take your choice. They by far have their act together when it comes to paddle design and marketing, for that matter. So Shogun is fantastic.
The Invader
new
there behind you,
Invader
that
is
looks
fantastic. Yeah, bread and butter, excellent. All their paddles, take your choice. My worst looking, I kind of could not come to a worse looking paddle. I was having problems with this one. This is my last one that I picked. There have been some ugly paddles this year, believe me, but there is a paddle company who got into making paddles, pickleball paddles, and the company's called NOX, and their Pro Shot is absolutely hideous. Let me send this to you, Eddie.
All right.
Yeah. So incoming. So yeah, it has some aesthetics of a padel paddle a little bit, but those don't transfer to pickleball. We become very different sports aesthetically, pickleball and padel.
terrible.
But yeah, I'll put an image up. But it's got like 3 holes in the neck. It's got these loud graphics and bright graphics on the face.
And
big
square
X,
head and-
square head, short handle.
Yeah, that's
Just
pretty awful, John.
Not a pretty paddle. So there we go. Okay,
I hate to even talk about this category because it's kind of mean, isn't it?
it is a little bit mean, but
I think, we've talked about this before. I have some definite, headliners as far as ugliest paddles.
Yeah.
We've talked about the Neonic Flow in the past.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about the Grooven 13S. The Thompson is kind of, I love the Uni, by the way.
that was on my list too.
But that's kind of like I don't love the shape. I don't like the arch top on that particular look. I'm glad to hear that they're kind of doing some redesign on this because I love everything else about the paddle, the performance characteristics, but it just doesn't do it for me visually. But my winner, or I guess loser in this case, is the Spartus Apollo.
Okay.
As much as I love the company and they've done great things, I put them on my list for a breakout company. But that Apollo is just a pizza spatula. I just do not like that shape at all.
It's a pretty bad shape. Yeah.
Sorry.
Solid performer, but I think most of us can agree that shape is
All right.
not the most appealing. All right, kind of another mean topic. So worst flop of 2024.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to give a caveat before mine and say that they're going to come up in a positive light in one of our other categories. But I'm going to have to say that the Selkirk 007 is my worst flop of the year of 2024. Labs, I love the idea of Labs, and they killed it with the 002. They've had some questionable choices in Labs, but like I said, I love I loved having Labs as an option for kind of
Agree.
Progression in pickleball. But 007, man, I don't think I'm the only one. You and I are the only ones that can't stand the vibration frequencies. I think originally, like 5 Selkirk pros were playing with it, and they all abandoned it because none of them can get used to it or enjoy it. So, I mean, great looking paddle.
It is really nice looking.
But lacks, there's things to be desired in the performance.
You know, John, if they're going to charge the highest amount of any paddle out there, I think it's still $333, right? You expect the best of everything. You expect the best feel, the best control or power, whatever their specialization is for that particular paddle. You expect the best of it. In this case, you don't get the best of anything. It's not a good paddle. And I like you, I love Labs. I played with the 003 for probably half a year, and I love that paddle. But man, this one does not do it for me. And so for that reason, it is my biggest flop of 2024.
Okay, we agree on that one.
Yeah.
Do you have a runner-up?
Nope.
Okay. My runner-up for the worst flop would be the Rockney Aero Blade.
Okay.
Remember that one? It was similar to the Gammas that have the interchangeable weights and vibration damping things, but it had 3 holes down there. But that thing is, I think it's $300, and the stock swing weight of that is 133.
Oh, very manageable for a
after
tennis racket.
after you add the weights, it's like 140 plus, and the weights aren't in the right spot, they're down at the neck, So, noble idea to provide players with the ability to manipulate the weight, similar to the Adidas metal bone.
Was that a 2023 release?
That was 2023.
Okay.
Yeah. But didn't materialize into the best option this year.
A valiant effort.
Okay. But I will say that I do love both of those companies, Selkirk and Rockney, solid companies, good people in those companies. All right. Biggest paddle trend of 2024.
All right.
You want to go?
Yeah, sure. My runner-up is Kevlar.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen Kevlar before, but really in 2024, it just exploded. And it was all over the place, and people love it. People still love it. It's not a trend that's really gone away here in the tail end of 2024.
Right.
But my number one, it's got to be Gen 3.
Okay.
Right?
Biggest trend, yeah. I'd say right now, Gen 3, and we're going to see a boatload of new Gen 3 paddles, foam enhanced paddles coming out in Q1 of 2025. So I agree with that.
All right.
Almost the same choice as my runner-up was Kevlar, for sure. The biggest paddle trend of the year for me, though, was fiberglass and the layup.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber, and variations of that, I think really caught fire in 2024. And like we mentioned on our predictions podcast, I think we're going to see more options besides fiberglass and carbon fiber in the layup of paddles in 2025. But providing that different layers in the layup for pop and power and for hitting the ball hard, and it springs off the bottom layer of the layup, I think it's just a fantastic idea, and there's a lot of potential there. So there we go.
All right.
All right, so the most ridiculous marketing claims or the worst idea.
That's a big category. Frankly, I find most marketing language to be a little ridiculous.
Yeah,
because they all profess to be the best everything.
Perfect balance of power and control. Right?
Exactly. But my pet peeve has to be anything like aero related. Like this curved top is going to help you swing faster. Or this hole is going to increase your aerodynamic efficiency. I think that's all a bunch of hoo-ha.
We're on the same brain length, Eddie. So mine was the one-shot Aero Infinity Shot, which is one of these paddles that came out with holes along the sides of the paddle.
Oh,
so not a hole in the neck like the Selkirk introduced, but literally they cut holes in the side of the paddle, which I think is defeating for many things. You're removing twist weight, reducing the size of the sweet spot because it's going to follow the interior of those holes, not the edge guard. And one of their claims was holes along the side of the paddle as air vents. So, I mean, if it's even true that the paddle swings through the air, it can't be any easier than, okay, but then you're trading off probably a whole point in swing weight, right? Or twist weight. So the trade-off is not worth it.
I think with all of these so-called technologies, potentially there's some efficiencies to be gained at supersonic speeds. but at what mere mortals can swing a paddle, no,
Right,
it's not
for sure.
happening. That's so funny that we came up with
Yeah. Okay. And the next category, most innovative technology. What do you got, Eddie?
I've got the layered approach towards paddle manufacturing.
Okay.
Fiberglass, carbon fiber.
Yep.
I agree with you. I think it's a really interesting way to get at how do you maximize performance for different kinds of shots. And that seems to be the best approach that's come about lately.
Right.
I think a lot of people would lean towards the core, towards approaching that question, but really it's these multi-layered faces.
Yeah. That was one of my runner-ups also.
Okay.
Yeah. Another runner-up for me was internal weighting system, which is such an obvious one, low-hanging fruit, but it didn't really start happening until this year, and in particular with edgeless paddles. Like, edgeless paddles need internal weighting before any
Absolutely.
consumers get their hands on that paddle.
Great example here in the Infinity.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Eddie,
So that was your runner-up. What
that
was
my
your winner?
runner-up. Do you want to get to your winner first?
Gen 3 foam
Okay.
enhancement.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, bit of a controversial one because, they also, if you don't get it right, they have a tendency to break in, and that's kind of becoming a sticking point for consumers as well as break. But I think that there's a ton of potential in it as well. So we can have a debate with Justin at Pickleball, et cetera, co-host of Pickleball Pursuit. He does not like foam paddles. He's actually the one that consulted. I think he used to work for Mark, so he's the one who designed the paddle that you love, and super great guy. But he hates the concept of foam being used as structural components in a paddle, which I think there's some validity to that. But I'd love to. We should get him on the pod and talk about it because I think there's a lot of potential in foam as well if it's used correctly. So anyway.
I haven't
Justin,
found
come
a
on the
paddle
podcast.
yet where a foam infused polypropylene has worked for me. I feel like of all those paddles that we've tried, the swing weight has just been upset too much by all the additional weight. But
Yeah.
the
The
Ringer
Olympus.
foam
Yeah.
has worked really well.
Yeah.
I think that's a winner.
It worked pretty well on the Olympus because it was 14 millimeter, and somehow they got the swing weight pretty manageable.
Yeah.
It was like 113 or something.
That's true.
Pretty low, but yeah, I agree. I don't think you can't really feel the foam as much if it's filled in the polypropylene cells as you can in perimeter
Agree.
or handle. You know
Agree.
what I mean?
I do have a technology, though, that puts all of those to shame.
Let's hear it.
It's the suction cup at the base of the handle.
Dang it, you took one of my other answers, Eddie.
I mean, come on, that really does it for most people.
You don't have to bend down.
Just the elegance
And-
of that.
We don't.
That action.
Pickleball does not require any kind of bending or squatting motions. So
and
why
it still
would
doesn't. Thanks to this ingenious invention.
All right. My number one innovative technology for 2024 is the Gearbox Ultimate SST core.
Oh,
So it's a variation of their SST that they started years ago, and then they altered it in 2023 for their power paddles, and I think they perfected it in 2024 for the Ultimate. He changed the modulus, changed the orientation of the layup, and all these other things. It's just, I'd like to describe the Ultimate SST core as like Rafa's playground. It's like where he goes just to tinker with things at night, and I think he nailed it. And there's nothing else like it on the market.
you use the word perfected. Do you think that's the case?
That's a little bit of overstatement, I'd say. I'm sure there's room for improvement on it, but it's definitely the best iteration yet of any
I agree with
Gearbox
that.
paddle. Yeah. Okay.
Next category.
Biggest fad.
Go for it.
So I've got a hot take on my runner-up. And this hot take, because it's a fad, you think of it as coming around and then leaving, right? So my hot take is edgeless paddles. Now, I know they're not going anywhere, so I'll go ahead and say that. But up to recently, they have not been the best performing paddles compared to paddles with edge guards, right? I do think that's going to change in 2025 with internal perimeter weighting and also stuff like the Thompson where they're putting polyurethane around the edge for vibration damping and for weighting and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, can you call this an edgeless paddle? It looks like it. It has the aesthetic qualities of an edgeless paddle, but it does have an edge. I wouldn't call it a guard, but it has an edge to it, right? So there's that.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
I'm a little surprised that you would say that about my favorite type of paddle.
It's your favorite type? I mean, looks-wise, you can't beat them. Yeah. But performance-wise, up until very recently, I don't feel like they've matched up with other paddles.
Yeah. Okay, fair. Was that your runner-up, or was that your...
That was my hot take runner-up. What's your runner-up?
My runner-up for biggest fad is really anything with the word or a derivation of the word pickle.
There are only so many pickle companies you can have.
I mean, I think we've gone past the sort of jovial nature of the name of our sport to be naming things after pickles.
Yeah, or dill or anything else related to a pickle.
Yeah, let's not go there. Let's just stop that right now.
And stop taking vowels out of your,
doesn't count.
Your name. Okay.
All right.
I love it. My biggest fad of 2024 is titanium. Not that it's bad, but I think it's, I think we saw every paddle jump on that bandwagon, similar to Kevlar. I think Kevlar has proven it has some staying power. We'll see if titanium or PET, which is polyester, actually sticks around in 2025. My guess is that it won't. I think we'll see a big decline in PET titanium faces.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I tend to agree.
Okay.
I've went in a kind of a different direction with this question, and that is I didn't really go towards paddle technology fads. I just went with fads in general.
Okay.
So my, I guess, worst of in this category is just over-branding. I really don't like paddles where the name of the company shows up 13 or 14 times on one paddle. Yeah. That's too much.
Yep.
Maybe once, maybe twice.
For sure.
Not 14 times.
No. Like, pull down the Shogun at the top there.
Yeah.
This is how you do it. Focus on the model name and the overall design, and then put your company name subtly somewhere on the paddle. No, that's not so subtle. But anyway, it's cool because it has the Japanese writing in together with it. But yeah.
Yeah. But we've seen paddles where the name of the company shows up here, here, everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Unnecessary. Work on your
like
brand.
it, Eddie. I like it. Okay. You came up with this one, and I'm glad you did. Best ball.
I think the runner-up here is the Lifetime ball.
That's my runner-up, too.
And this one came out of nowhere. I was not expecting a Lifetime ball ever, nor did I expect that it would be a good ball. But it's really good.
It's a really good ball.
It's consistent.
It's not USAP approved. It has too many holes, but why do we need to cap the holes at 40? Right? Come on, USAP. Approve this ball because it is a solid performer.
I wish they had a different color, but...
What's wrong with the color?
It's more on the green side than the yellow side.
Okay. All right.
And I see yellow better.
It's not as optic as the other balls. Okay.
Exactly. But really a fantastic offering from Lifetime. I'm not even sure who makes it for Lifetime. I'm sure there's not a Lifetime factory making balls.
Probably not. But they're out of the park. And I think it even has, I think it's not a unibody design on the ball. I think it's like the internal weld thing they have going on. I think it's like two half spheres welded together, but it plays well.
Yeah. And your best ball, John?
My best ball is the Gamma Chuck.
Hey, that's a good one.
I love me some Gamma Chuck balls.
Why do you think people aren't playing with it more?
I just think it just the ball arena is really hard to break into. Like Franklin cornered that market when they were the ball the PPA used, right? And they made a good ball. And now everybody uses that. They're used to it for all the reasons we discussed. It's a good ball. But it's harder to break into the ball game for anybody else. And the Gamma Chuck it plays really similar to the Franklin X40, but it's a little bit harder, a little bit faster ball. Not crazy, not like the Dura, but it also doesn't go out of round. It's more durable than the Franklin and most other balls. I think it scored number 4 on our frozen ball test, and it's just a solid ball.
Well, my winner is the Franklin X40. I just feel like it levels the playing field for everybody. Everybody knows what to expect at this point. With other balls, you can kind of exploit the strengths or the weaknesses of a particular ball's characteristics. And with this, it just levels that playing field for everybody.
Right.
I love that about it. And you can get it anywhere. can get
for
it
sure.
out of a vending machine sometimes.
Yeah. Literally, at Boulder Pickleball, they have ball vending machines. And it's fairly affordable. You can get those sales occasionally on Amazon where they cost like $170 for 100 balls.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, or even less. Okay. Best and worst accessories, the next category.
Okay.
How about your runner-up for the best?
So I love my overgrips, my Yonex Super Grip especially, but the Bodhi, and now I've tried the U Drippin overgrip. They're actually very similar.
Are they?
But I love the feel and the thinness of those overgrips. That's my runner-up.
Okay. Bodhi and
Just
Griffin?
those three overgrips in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. My runner-up are slice caps.
All right.
Yeah. So the weighted caps on the bottom of the paddle. I only like them on elongated or hybrid shape paddles. I don't like the caps on standard or wide body paddles because they already have low balance points. But yeah, I think that, I mean, they made it pretty big this year. A lot of people love them. It does give you a little bit more stability and weight on your paddle without sacrificing too much in terms of hand speed. So good stuff.
A really high quality product too.
Yeah,
I mean, when
it's
you
true.
open up the package, you're just blown away by just the manufacturing quality.
Yeah, for sure. What is your best?
My best is the ADV backpack.
Okay.
This thing is a daily driver for me. I've gone through 10 mains of paddles this year. I don't know how many balls and shoes, but the bag has stayed with me every single day, just about. It is amazing.
Yeah, good choice. I was thinking paddle accessories, so that's where I came up with my best.
Okay.
And I have two bests, which are tungsten tape and the
Yeah.
Bodhi overgrips.
I thought about the tungsten tape as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so Pickleball Effect tungsten tape is the one I prefer best. It's low profile, it doesn't stick out much, and you can get it in 1 gram per inch or half gram per inch, and you can cut it yourself. I think Braden's also making the 3 gram strips now in tungsten.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I heard him talking about it. He's in the works. I think it might be out. If not, then they'll probably be out soon. But yeah, fantastic products, both of them.
And you like the Bodhi grips?
I love the Bodhi grips. Yeah, I switched over from my long-standing favorite, which was the Yonex Super Grip, and Bodhi met up with me when we were at San Clemente in California. He used to work with 6-0, so I knew him from there. And he was like, hey, I started my own company and got these grips. You want to try them out? And he gave me a 12-pack. And genuinely thankful. But I was like, I got my grips. I don't think I'll ever change. And immediately I was like, I love these. And I've never gone back to Yonex since.
Yeah, I think I have a couple of the 50 packs.
Yeah.
So
You got that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
big
the drum.
circular ones. Yeah, right.
You want to talk
What's your
about?
worst accessory of 2024?
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
How
All
about
right.
you?
I got a couple.
Okay.
So the suction cup thing is one of them. Suction cup at the bottom of your handle so you don't have to bend over to pick up your balls.
All right.
Not a good look. Unless you're 100 years old and you literally can't bend over. You should not be using that.
There's now
suction
one
cup.
that's kind of like a sticky tape you put on the top of your paddle that basically achieves the same thing.
Okay. Why?
Maybe think about another sport.
Right. All right. And there's a product called the Paddle Pal. And it is a scorekeeping, I'll put it in the B-roll. Okay. It's a scorekeeping device that you stick, it has like an elastic band, and you stick it to the neck of the paddle.
Oh,
and it
my.
has these little dials that it tells you your server number on one side and then the score on the left and the right. And it sticks out like at least half an inch, right? And it's got this strap on the other side.
It's got a strap. Oh, my gosh.
Strap throws off the weight of your paddle. You can't use a 2 anymore. I mean, if you can't remember, like all of us struggle sometimes to remember the score, but do we really need a scorekeeping device on the paddle?
Oh, my God. Get a watch.
Get a watch, get something you can stick in your pocket. I don't know.
Those are good.
I thought that was hilarious, though. Okay, best and worst training devices.
Okay.
So training devices.
Yes.
This is another one of your categories.
So my runner-up for best of is really any ball machine.
Oh, yeah.
I think just the fact that you can have a lot of repetitions is very helpful. You can go crazy. You could probably spend a couple $1,000s and get a, customizable phone app. Everything controlled
Yeah.
But honestly, my ball machine doesn't do even like backspin or topspin. It just launches a lot of balls,
Okay.
and I'm happy with that.
Which one is it? I can't remember. I don't think I've ever seen you play with your ball machine. I have the Lobster. I got that
I had the Lobster. This is the green one.
Okay.
What's the brand?
It's like square.
Yeah.
I can't remember either. But yeah, the Lobster, Michelle got that for me for Christmas, first year after I got super into pickleball. And I still use that thing. It's a handy little training device.
They're good to have.
Yeah.
And likewise, as far as getting those repetitions, is a rebound net. This is another runner-up.
Okay.
Again, doesn't really matter the brand, but a rebounder. Basically, you hit the ball into the net. It's got a little springiness to it and gets those balls right back to you, and you can just work on those. I use it for drives, forehand and backhand drives, but you could probably use it for just about anything. Serves would be good too.
Gotcha.
Yep. How about you for your runner-up?
I don't have a runner-up. I have a worst and a best. So
All right.
let's go with my best, which is the Fluid Sweet Spot Trainer Paddle. They've balanced this to have very similar swing weight to most paddles, and it's the best trainer paddle I've hit with. It feels natural in your hands, and
I like that.
yeah, he met up with the owner of that, and also met up with me in San Clemente and gave me that, and I've yet to be able to find an opportunity to mention it on the podcast. But
I sort of jury rigged a different training paddle with the same concept.
Yeah, I remember
of just adding. You got to really had a ton of weight to these.
Yeah, that's a beefy trainer paddle. It has the same swing weight as most like hybrid paddles, and raw carbon fiber on the surface, and and I think they're $100, like most trainer paddles.
This with the mini ball.
Yeah, true.
That's a good combination.
Yeah, so that thing has been super helpful.
Awesome.
What's yours?
My best of is the Topspin Pro.
Oh, that's right.
The ability to just visualize what a proper topspin looks like, both on forehand and backhand, has helped me tremendously. And I used to hit a lot of flat balls. Now I get a good bit of topspin on my drives, and even drives from the midcourt low. I'm able to get that topspin on there.
So what's it called again? The
Topspin Pro.
Topspin Pro. So for people that don't know, it's like the device where the ball is on a spindle or bearing, and you can hit it, and it has a little bit of give to it, but then the ball stays there and it spins on its spindle.
Exactly. Okay. And it sits inside a plane, so you can sort of visualize proper swing path, but also not swing through the ball directly.
Okay.
Rather brush up on the ball.
Yeah. Okay.
So that plane is what really helps me kind of groove that proper swing.
Interesting. I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Worst. What's your worst?
I don't know what it's called, but it's basically a glove with, picture your hand inside two paddle faces.
So it's like the bird with a glove then?
Yeah, a little bit. And I guess the idea is to build that sort of hand-eye coordination, but I don't see how that helps anybody whatsoever. Having your hand inside a paddle, basically.
It's a sweet spot D-trainer. Good luck finding the sweet spot.
Well, once you know what the sweet spot is.
Right. By law of elimination.
Yeah. How about you?
Okay.
Worst training device?
My worst training device is a product called the Dinker, DINK''R, which is basically a pickleball on a string, and it has adhesive that you stick it to the frame of a door inside, and you hit the pickleball.
Oh, it's like the
on a
kids'
string.
toy we used to have.
But it just swings. It just swings up. There's no.
It's sort of.
There's no training in that at all. Like you're not learning anything unless you don't know how to swing a paddle in the first place. So it's ridiculous. I think it's like $30 on Amazon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Dinker.
Oh my goodness. There's so many get rich quick schemes out there for people to become 5-0s overnight, and I would say none of them really work.
Definitely not the Dinker. Best tournament experience.
I'm going to have to go with PPA San Clemente.
I like it.
The weather was great. The Lifetime facility there, I think it was 40 courts. Well set up, well organized. I thought the center court there, they had sort of that stadium style garden seating, which I thought was really well done, as was the VIP area that you could actually see into center court. A lot of VIP sections are kind of tucked away, and you got to just kind of figure your way around. But I thought the logistics of the event were great. Not very much waiting in between matches, just the right amount of time.
Yeah.
I mean, can't really complain.
That was my runner-up. I love San Clemente. That venue is just one of the best. It's beautiful there. Small little town in California. Had the best sushi of my life in San Clemente.
Okay.
For like everything in California is super expensive except for the sushi. And it's super fresh and amazing compared to here in Colorado.
And there's a melon store not far.
There's the melon store not far. But yeah, I agree. Everything about the venue was beautiful. I like the benches, like the stadium benches. It's more kind of communal. It feels like kind of a concert, you know. Anna Bright was sleeping for like 4 hours on one of the benches that one day.
I forgot.
Yeah, so good times.
All right. And your best of?
My best stuff was Worlds recently in Dallas. It was a spectacle, man. They had concerts every night. It was just cool. Massive undertaking. And I did compete in the tournament, and it ran like a German train, you know, on time and hugely effective. So like I said before, they need to give their tournament organizer a raise or whatever their software they're using to make those matches go. I never had to wait more than 30 minutes, even in a back draw. It was crazy.
You know, when you spend a couple $100s on a tournament and then add on event fees and travel and everything else, you kind of deserve an experience like that.
Yeah.
To have to wait around all day for 2 matches or
right.
You know, all that stuff is just, it's such a risk.
Eddie, you and I next year have to go to an APP event. Because I know a lot of those are fantastic also.
Sure.
But, you've been to one, right, before?
Not last year.
Okay. Well, yeah, we've got to go to one just to check it out. 'Cause
Okay.
I know that a lot of people speak highly of them.
Sounds good. Is it time?
It is time.
All
So
right.
the big drum roll for this segment is Paddle of the Year. So I've got one runner-up and a primary.
All right.
Yeah.
I've got 10 runners up.
You got 10 runners-up.
Only because I had 10 mains in the bag this year. So I figure if they're in the bag, they kind of deserve a mention, right?
So let's start with you. You got it if you to go through. So what are your runner-ups?
You could speed this part up to 1.5.
Is it runner-ups or runners-up?
I thought it was runners up, but...
Runners-up sounds better.
Okay. Carbon 1X. Started the year off with that.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I don't remember you playing with that one.
It was very early on.
Okay.
Yep. The Yola Anna Bright Gen 3. Before I got
I remember that
canned.
one. Yep.
The Gearbox Pro Power Elongated I played with for quite some time.
Okay.
11624 Hirache X Control Plus. The Body Helix X4, Chorus Shapeshifter, Mark 1X, Rhombus Ripple 2, Paddletech ESQ C14, and now the Vatic Saga is in the bag.
Okay.
So those are my runners up.
So this is a list of Eddie's mains.
Yeah, pretty much
in
for the
2024. Okay. Yeah, I was coming at it more like, what do I think is the best paddle offerings in 2024? So just one runner up for me.
All right.
I've got the Apes Pulse.
Okay.
So it might sound like recency bias, but I thought long and hard about this, and I went back and considered all my mains that I've had this year and looked at all my reviews, and I just think they hit they came up with a really great paddle, and we'll talk about the dissection in a minute, and there might be some issues that they are correcting or changing in the Pulse, but suffice it to say that everybody I've talked to who has an Apes Pulse absolutely loves it. It's not the most powerful paddle on the market. They're all-court paddles. Mm-hmm. But, man, sweet spot on those things, amazing. The feel you get from that paddle, amazing. And I feel like in terms of Gen 3 technology, this is one of the more innovative ones, which we'll discuss in a minute.
And for that reason, John, the Pickleball Apes Pulse is my winner for Paddle of the Year.
I love it.
It is far and away the best feeling ball striking paddle that I've seen ever.
Yeah,
the sweet spot is incredible. So controllable, so consistently uniform. It deserves everything people are saying about it. And I'm actually torn between the S and the V, so I'm not going to pick one. I'll just say the Pulse.
Okay. You got a V on the way, by the way.
Hey!
So, you're playing with the S now. You love it. I don't know. We'll see which one's your favorite out of the two.
I spent some time with the V, yours and others, and it's also a great paddle. I would be hard-pressed to pick between the two. I guess it's sort of situationally dependent.
Okay.
And your paddle of the year, John?
My paddle of the year is the Honolulu J2K.
Okay.
Yeah. Came out, like we said, came out of nowhere, Honolulu, and had some questionable paddles in the early lineup and nailed down some things and just killed it with the J2K. And I'm kind of coming at this from my own perspective as well as what we're seeing in terms of feedback from everybody.
My goodness. People love that paddle.
They love it. I mean, it's a Kevlar paddle, hybrid shaped. One thing they did change in the shape from most other hybrid curved top paddles was they did not taper the paddle from the bottom to the top. And that just provided just a couple of tenths of an inch of added width that increased the twist weight. So that paddle has one of the largest sweet spots for that shape, if not the largest. Whatever combination of all the alchemy that went into that in terms of like sourcing the polypropylene core and sourcing the DuPont Kevlar on the surface and the layup underneath, everything just works. And again, it's one of those paddles it is not, the most powerful. It's not the most control oriented. It gets great spin, but it's not the spinniest, but everything kind of comes together. Yeah. So that paddle's my number one.
I think it's interesting. Neither one of us picked a power paddle. We ended up in the all court area.
That's true. That is true.
Interesting. I did not think you were going there. I thought you were going Gearbox.
Okay. No.
Which is a great paddle, but,
It's a great paddle, but
I can understand your reasoning.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congrats, Pickleball Apes, and congrats, HPC.
Absolutely.
Really fantastic offerings.
Okay.
Woo.
That was a big segment. Eddie, let's move on.
When do these companies get their awards?
Next year we should come up with trophies for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
Something in the leaded crystal area.
I like that.
All right. We're doing Q&A next?
Q&A. So I dissected after I shed a few tears.
Deep dive.
Deep dive.
Okay.
Right. That's right. This is not Q&A. This is our own deep dive section. So
is this my paddle that you have been?
This is why you don't have the paddle. No. This was my Goldilocks paddle that I absolutely loved, and it broke in just the right amount for me. And this one heated up a little more than I think most other people's did. And they sent me a second one with some slight modifications, and that one was broken in too, but the power level did not increase as much as this one did. So this one I would put in it actually feels almost exactly the same in terms of firepower as the ESQC 14.3, right? So I would put it kind of in the power level paddles. But my other one is very much an all-court paddle. After it's broken in, probably leaning slightly more power. Anywho, so the reason why I didn't dissect this for my review is because my first priority was, okay, I knew this paddle broke in. I wanted to make sure that it didn't break in and then break, like the mods and the Yola Gen 3s, right? I wanted to make sure it wasn't a core issue and it just didn't feel great right now, and then in another 4 weeks, I can't control it anymore. Mm-hmm. So I kept playing with it. I put it through the torture test of the frozen balls. I played with it for weeks after that. It absolutely stabilized at the level that I reviewed it at. So it took maybe 2 weeks to break in, 3 weeks max, and then it stayed at that level and never went up, right? So after that priority, then I decided to dissect it. Now, big shout out to Dustin at Pickleball Medicine. He's another paddle reviewer. His first podcast that they released was a dissection of the Pickleball Apes Pulse. And he did a really good job with it and kind of analyzed it. And what he found was that the core is not crushing. That's not what's causing the break-in. And there's no concern with the core. But the break-in was caused by the foam rings on the outside. So if you remember, I put up the infographic that Apes has for their Pulse. The infographic shows 2 rings, and there's actually what looks like 3 rings in there. And I think it's just, it's not misleading or anything. I think for infographics, it simplifies some things. But I'll talk more about that 2 versus 3 ring thing in a minute. But what Dustin found was that these rings are similar to like the edge foam that you see in most thermoform paddles. So it's foam encased in a carbon fiber tube. And what he initially thought was that the carbon fiber was C-shaped to allow the foam to go in between the channels, the 3 channels. And then he concluded that actually the break-in was caused by the outermost carbon fiber tube bursting open. And then that caused it to change in sound. And he said he actually felt like one day he was playing with it and it kind of gave like a popping sound and then it was broken in. It's like it's a very immediate break-in.
Like a balloon bursting.
Yeah, not immediate, but he played with it for like 3 weeks, I think, and then all of a sudden break-in after that. That was not my experience with mine. It gradually broke in and then stabilized. So he showed, I kind of dug the foam out of the outside ring, and it did look like the carbon fiber tube had burst. So I dissected mine, and I also saw these kind of C-shaped. What I did with this is I did my sandwich cut to get kind of the look in plan view, and then the profile view cuts of the rest. So I've got 3 segments here. So first of all, in the plan view cut, you can definitely see 3 rings of foam on the outside. And if you feel the rings, like press your thumbs into the foam and then the carbon fiber in between. Carbon fibers provide a structural support. So it's almost like a rafter in a roof or a wall that just provides more rigidity. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And you can look on the most interior of the rings, and the foam flows into the polypropylene core.
Right here.
Yeah. So there's not a barrier. There's not a carbon fiber barrier that prevents the foam from
just kind of leaks right into it.
Yeah. Which, I thought originally that was probably a intentional thing, but I'll get into that in a minute. So look at the other side of this. Oh no, I dug this out. I'll have some photos I'll show in B-roll. But what happened on this side of the paddle is that when I cut, I intersected where that C-shaped tube. First, let me show you what a C-shaped tube looks like. If you look at this profile cut, you can see that the outermost layer here, outermost ring, is C-shaped. Same for this one. And then the innermost ring is also C-shaped so that the foam can flow into the polypropylene. Do you see that?
Yep. Does look like there's an inner polypropylene wall here, kind of keeping the foam.
So that's another thing that I realized later. So we'll get back to that in a second. But this plan view cut that I made on this one intersected where the opening in that carbon fiber C-shaped thing is on this side. And I've dug the foam out. But what you saw, and I'll show it in the B-roll, is that there was a continuous layer of foam that flowed between the 2 channels. So what that told me is that it happened during manufacturing and not as a result of break-in. Because there's no way to break that carbon fiber tube during playing and then for a solid sheet of foam to flow between those. So you'd see a break in the foam, right? Because that's how the foam forms.
Yep.
So I verified that like all this section here had foam flowing in between. So definitely part of the manufacturing process. So I sort of started concluding that this was an intentional thing, that they were building these to A, flow into the polypropylene with a C-shaped carbon fiber tube that's open, and then B, the outer ring was also intentionally open to allow these 2 chambers to fill in together. And that aligned more with what I saw in the infographics, where there are 2 channels instead of 3. So I was like, all right, so this is kind of all intentional. And I think Dustin, to his credit, also concluded that first and then went back to, well, these are probably, the carbon fiber tubes are probably opening during break-in. And then I contacted Apes and talked with Ivan, and we had a long conversation, and it was not their intention for these tubes to be open. They should all be sealed. And what he's saying was happening is that it's kind of like roll your own cigarettes, where you use the paper to roll the cigarettes and then you overlap it a little bit. They weren't leaving enough overlap on that carbon fiber tube, and when the foam was expanding, it was either opening up during the thermoforming process as the foam expands or later during the break-in period. Is this concerning? It's concerning in the sense that it was not intentional, but it's not concerning in the fact that it's not the core. It concerns me less that these things are opening up than it would have if the core was crushed and eventually led to breakage as the Gen 3s or mods do. And then you have to go back and ask yourself, okay, what's the whole intention of the foam rings in the first place? It was not to serve as a trampoline, right? They specifically said in their advertisements, this is not a power paddle. And they put these carbon fiber supports in here for extra rigidity and support, right? So you can't squish your thumbs into the sides of the paddles, right? And it's not going to, again, serve as this trampoline. So my thought is, even if the outside rings opens and the inside ring opens, then you still have this one basically rafter here, and it's serving to make the paddle more rigid. Is it as rigid as if all three of these were intact? No. Now they are going to that. They're speaking with the company, the factory, sorry, and all of the Apes are going to have these 3 encased tubes of foam encased in carbon fiber moving forward. So what the end result of that will be is they won't break in as much, particularly as mine did, my first one. My second one, he said that they made some changes in the carbon fiber tubes. I haven't dissected that to see if they are open or not, but it did break in. The sound got deeper. It got more forgiving, all of the good things. So what he wants is just a little more control and more intentionality in their paddles. Interestingly, he put a poll up on Discord and said, hey, would they prefer no break-in or the break-in that they've experienced? And they like a large percentage of them chose they want their paddles to break in like they've experienced. Yeah. Because there's a lot of positives of it. It's not the kind of break-in that you get like with the gearboxes and the mods and the TA15s where they just become crazy powerful. Gearbox Pro Power, not so much with the Ultimate. The power increases, and particularly in the newer models, just a little bit, but the majority of that break-in is sweet spot gets bigger, you get a lower tone, you get more dwell time, and all those good things.
So, John, what do you think is actually breaking in what paddle's breaking in?
This Apes Pulse?
Yes.
I think a couple of things are happening. The foam is loosening up a bit. And then certainly there's especially in the ones that the carbon fiber tubes had opened up during the thermoforming process, that's just kind of getting looser as things break in. Do you know what I mean? So it's already open. And then in the case of Dustin's, it sounds like his happened suddenly after a couple of weeks of play, and that probably is a result of that exterior carbon fiber tube opening up, and then everything gets immediately a little bit looser, right? Because you're losing one of those 3 rafters, right? So yeah, that's that. Apes is like I said, against public demand. They want to have a more intentional paddle that they intended. My theory behind this is there's a lot of back and forth between the paddle company and the factories that manufacture their paddles. And I imagine that they did intentionally leave this interior foam open so they could fill the polypropylene cores, the polypropylene cells. And I did look at there's a seam that opened up, and it's consistently the same width on the exterior. Not like it popped open after I broke it in, but I imagine that was, maybe it wasn't intentional, maybe it happened during thermoforming, but it looked intentional. So I imagine that at the factory they were like, okay, we'll open these up for various reasons, and then Apes wasn't quite clear on that intentionality, and that's not exactly what they wanted. So future iterations of the Pulse will hit a little stiffer and not break in quite as much.
And where do you come on this with your personal preference for break-in or not?
I like my Goldilocks paddle that I've destroyed. I shed a tear when I was cutting that open because I had a feeling I'd never get it again. That's not to say that the newer Pulses are bad. And that was my personal preference. Not many people would want a break-in from... Mine started like right in the middle of all court and then went into the power level. That's a pretty big shift, probably 5 to 7% power increase. Okay. Similar to like, I don't know, the Gearbox Ultimate, right? But I don't think a lot of people want that because you're not ending up with the paddle that you bought. But I think that most people would prefer of the second iteration, a broken end pulse where it's looser, it has a deeper tone when you hit the ball, it's more dwell time and a bigger sweet spot. So
with no break-in.
With a little bit of break-in.
with a little bit of break-in.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that was one of my recommendations to Apes was why don't you just make the paddle feel like it's broken in from the beginning?
Yeah.
Right? So open up that outer seam. Just have one. I mean, this is what the newer, I don't know if I should talk about this, but I will. So the newer 11624 power paddles, they have a thick band of EVA foam, the same width as these outer two rings, and that's causing, it to be more powerful. But in the case of the Apes, like the power isn't crazy, but you're getting a lot more benefits from having a looser outer and wider outer ring of foam. You're getting more dwell time, softer, and
honestly, I haven't picked up any break-in on those new paddles.
On which paddles?
The 11624.
Not yet for me either.
Yeah. So there's something there. Personally, as someone who has to talk about paddles all the time, the break-in period makes your job and my job kind of insane.
It's really hard.
We can't really give an opinion.
Sure.
For weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know people are divided on it, but I do sense a kind of a public outcry for less break-in, and I get it. Like, you don't want to spend close to $300 on a paddle or more and have it in 4 weeks not be the same paddle that you bought, So.
Yep. Agree. Very cool.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting cut right there.
Yeah.
Multi-dimensional.
It looks like a layer cake. If you put the top and bottom together, it looks like
I love it. I would love to see that come to production.
The original Chorus Super Court.
It's a baby paddle.
It's a longer paddle, longer handle. All right.
Good stuff, John.
I think we have a long podcast this weekend.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to be late for getting back to work.
Okay. Well, let's move on then. What do we got next? Q&A?
Yeah, let's do some Q&A. Got a couple for you here, John. First one's from Matty Rutt, 2922. Might be somebody you know, actually.
He's a common commenter. He always has some insightful commentary.
Yeah, I like whippy flicks at the kitchen line. Always assumed that the best paddle would be, in the fast hands, a standard shape. But John's former partner, JJ, says elongated's the way to go. I believe the logic was centered around head-heavy whip and the longer reach for better angles. Does any particular paddle shape have the advantage in flicks?
Oh, I like that question.
Yeah, I thought you would.
My perception of this is kind of on the fence right now. Originally, I thought that wide body paddles, shorter paddles with less swing weight and lower balance points had better flick. But I'm kind of changing that. So it first kind of started, remember when we went to Dallas, not for the first time we went to Dallas, and we played with Matt and Brian Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
And Brian had this Frankenstein paddle where he cut the bottom off and they put a ton of lead on the top. So it's kind of it's actually what inspired the Super Court from that. So yeah, kind of a small paddle face, super long handle, tons of lead on the top. So extremely top heavy paddle. And I played with it for a couple games, and I was able to get these wicked serves, because the whip on that was kind of insane. So I think there's two ways to think about paddle whip. One is with full swings like serves and drives, and clearly like a head-heavy paddle feels good, especially if you come from a tennis background, when you get a good piece of a ball on a serve or a drive. But I'd say at the kitchen, for these types of flicks, not so much. I think a lower balance point and a smaller swing weight would serve you better at the kitchen, unless you had like ridiculously strong wrists. But that's kind of where I'm at right now and my perception of it. But I might change my mind. What's your thought on this, Eddie?
I think logically you would have to go with a low swing weight paddle, regardless of paddle shape and dimension. I mean, just the effort to use those tiny little muscles in your arm versus those bigger muscles, I think it requires that low swing weight, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Interesting question.
All right, here's another one from VWKYT. It's really about paddle shape. So we were talking about, do ugly paddles play better, right?
Okay.
And this viewer finds this topic interesting and a little puzzling because other racket sports, all the other racket sports, tend to have rounded shapes. So why is pickleball different in terms of, these manufacturers all want to optimize sweet spot and forgiveness? Why is pickleball moving towards generally a more rectangular shape with curves versus what tennis and padel and others have gravitated to?
Does padel have rounded?
It's kind of a
paddles?
teardrop, rounded shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even ping pong, table tennis has
Exactly.
round. I mean, my impression of it is that you don't want to leave any space on the table when you're making a paddle, when you're working within the dimensions that the USAP provides for maximum length plus width of a paddle. That the more width you put on a paddle, the larger the twist weight, and that correlates with sweet spot. So with rounded paddles, you're going to lose a lot of sweet spot. It's just not as forgiving. It twists more in your hands, etc. There must be something different with padel paddles that allows rounded shapes not to impede the sweet spot. Maybe it's those big foam cores they're using. They're using mostly EVA foam cores. Right. That's probably just a more forgiving material for sweet spots in general. But I think it's with the stiffness that is required of a pickleball paddle, you have to fill in all the gaps, as many gaps as possible, and not round things off because you're losing valuable twist weight when you're doing that.
All right, good stuff.
Yeah, is that your impression too?
I think we'll continue to see experimentation in this area. One of my first paddles I ever used was the Prince, and it was a pretty rounded head, and I think the marketing around that time was, well, this is going to optimize a rounded sweet spot.
Right.
Just as we would for tennis. And it played very well. I would be curious to see what a paddle with that dimensions today with modern materials would play like.
Yeah. And I think there's a trade-off, obviously, with maneuverability of the paddle as you fill in the gaps and make it more square. I remember, you ever hit with one of those Pro Kinetics circular paddles? Those tiny, they feel like a toy, but man, I think they're like 10 millimeters thick. It's just like you're holding nothing. It's not a good feel for me, but I understand the, kind of the appeal of an ultra lightweight paddle. So having a squarish paddle is going to feel heavier in your hands, and different strokes for different people. Some people who prioritize maneuverability are probably going to want things to be more rounded off, have the arrow curve, for example, and those who prioritize stability and forgiveness and don't mind a bit more swing weight will obviously go for square.
As ugly as it would be, what do you think a purely rectangular pickleball paddle would play like?
Like literally 90-degree angle?
Yeah, exactly.
We should do an experiment.
Okay, let's do that.
Like, what's the biggest paddle? Oh, yeah, we should use that, the Body Helix Max paddle. And just cut it into a square because it has so much facing material to work with. And then put the edge guard back on, and we'll see.
Maybe Fred can just create one for us.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, one more question.
Yes, sir.
All right, this one's from G. Bouchard. Should eye protection be mandatory?
I was like, Jeannie listens to the podcast? So for those of you that don't know, she got a damaged cornea and during a training session recently. Jeannie Bouchard did, and had to go to the hospital.
That question, but it's a good question.
It's a very good question. No, I still don't think it should be mandatory in practice. Definitely not in practice. And in tournaments, I think it's up for debate. How about you?
It should be highly encouraged. Let's put it that way. I think we're going to see a lot of business establishments potentially require it, just for liability reasons. I don't think they want to be caught on the bad end of a legal problem. Yeah. But in the end, people are going to do what they want to do. And if they want to put their eyes at risk, I think that's a terrible decision, but it is still a personal decision. Yeah. Once we went to eye safety earlier this year, like you and I didn't consistently wear safety glasses until we had a podcast about it way back in January. And I just don't feel comfortable without some kind of eye protection on the courts. it feels really strange.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you never know. It's so how it happened with Genie and most people is it comes off your paddles partner. It shanks off your paddles partner and ricochets into your eye. And there's no way to get out of the way of those balls. You know? So
I whacked a drive at somebody and it just grazed the top of the net and just came off at just the wrong angle to hit him right in the glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Thankfully, he was wearing glasses.
Yeah,
but
that's another one.
That's just the random stuff that happens in pickleball that really can't be controlled, and you can't depend on your reaction time to protect you.
Right. For sure. All right, Eddie. Those were good questions.
Good stuff, John. Are we at the end of our show here?
We are at the end. That is it.
So for those that made it, please enter the contest. This is good stuff.
Yep.
Leave us a comment as far as what you'd like to see in our show continue that you love, or something that we're missing that you'd like to see in 2025. Then go to John's website and enter in the answer to today's trivia question.
Love it, Eddie. All right, good sir. I will see you next week. If not then next week after.
Sounds good, John.
All right.
Thanks.
See you, Eddie.